Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here, and I am back for another channel update topic video type of thing. Try to do these maybe once a month or so. If something really interesting happens, I might do more than one of these. But, as of the last couple of years or so, I've been trying to do just some general topic videos and update videos once a month or so. So we'll just get right into it here. For those who are new to the channel, thank you for stopping by and checking it out. Definitely give a subscribe and check out all the playlists on the channel because everything is divided into playlists up there. We have playlists for low vision spotlight game videos for games that are more accessible to low vision players. Accessible game spotlight for PC and iOS more specifically as well. VR content, which I want to talk a little bit about more in a little bit. Hardware reviews, kind of geeky, cool stuff that I have collected over the last few years. Got some cool stuff in there. And like I said, there's all kinds of different playlists and stuff. A couple Let's Plays here, but that's not really my. I don't really concentrate on the Let's Plays, as there are many, many other channels that probably do that far more often and far better than I would. So those are just for games that I really, really enjoy and just want to play through completely or something like that. So, but definitely check out the playlist tab. There's a bunch of stuff you can find there. I do unlock videos typically every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Mondays are typically, unless something really interesting happens where I switch things up, Mondays are my Twitch archives. So I typically stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/illegally cited. And, once I stream there, usually I stream there on weekends, Fridays every once in a while, usually Saturdays, Sundays a little bit. Try to mix things up a little bit, but usually over the weekends. And then, like I said, once a week or so on Mondays, I typically will unlock a stream archive for people to watch. Just, a little bit of playing a random game or, playing a random game, chatting with people in the chat, that kind of a thing. So there's Mondays. And Wednesdays and Saturdays are typically everything else: low vision, blindness stuff, hardware, software, geeky stuff, whatever it happens to be. One of these videos, whatever. So yeah, I mean, everything on the channel is going strong. Lots of good videos that I've just put out. Lots of stuff I still have either yet to record or release that I want to cover. There's a lot of really kind of good games that I want to cover here. We've got God of War for PC. I just started that this weekend and played a little bit on the PS5, but kind of got distracted. So coming back to that and playing it on the PC, and I got to say it's really, really good. I'm really enjoying it so far. Um, we have an early access game that I'm pretty having a lot of fun with right now. It's called the Anacrusis, kind of a space sci-fi themed Left 4 Dead kind of a game. Played it on stream last night as I'm recording this, and it's got a few things that need to maybe be tweaked or fixed or updated a little bit, but that's what early access is for. It's definitely a bit more straightforward than Back 4 Blood, um, but it has its own kind of unique style and feel and everything, and overall it's pretty good. And there are loads and loads of games to look forward to, assuming many of them don't get delayed into 2023. There's a lot that were supposed to come out last year, but that actually got delayed to 2022. So there is no shortage of games that to cover this year. I've got a PS5, so I can try to cover some exclusives there. Again, I've got the my new Windows rig, so um, should be able to pretty much run any modern PC game that we want to play. A lot of these Xbox games, and again, Game Pass. If you have not, if you want to find a good way to check out game accessibility, like, oh, will this game be playable for me? Um, and you have an Xbox console or Windows PC, Xbox Game Pass is a hell of a deal. And there are loads of games on Game Pass. As long as you subscribe, you can just download them. Heck, you can even stream them through the xCloud service or what, I forget what they call it now. And you can try them just to see how accessible or if you like them. I played the Anacrusis on Game Pass last night, so um, I mean they have a lot of different things on there. So if you don't want to plunk down a whole bunch of money and determine, oh, this game is not going to work for me, it's not accessible, maybe it'll be on Game Pass. You can give it a try that way. And they're adding big titles, so indie titles, AAA titles. I mean, you've got Halo Infinite day one release, Forza on day of release, but then you've got like indie games in there. You've got older classics. You got like the Mass Effect trilogy now, which is insane. All of id games, just a whole bunch of stuff. So don't discount Game Pass as a way to cheaply or more cheaply find things to play. Um, so yeah, I mean that's really a channel update video. There's not a whole lot going on as far as like tech events or announcements. I'm sure we'll start getting into those in the next couple of months. E3, they already announced that they're going to be doing a digital conference this year. We'll probably have Jeff Keighley's Summer of Gaming event. I don't know when exactly those are going to be taking place yet. Um, I don't know how, depending on when they're going to be covered or when they're going to happen, I may or may not be able to cover them right away because I have some personal commitments in June this year. So I will you'll still get videos, but um, I don't know that I'll be able to cover everything live due to some personal commitments that I have in June. So we'll play that by ear as we go. Um, but yeah, that is what's going on. ATIA, an assistive technology conference in Florida, every late January. That should be happening within the next couple of weeks. There's not usually a ton happening there as far as blind low vision. There was for a couple of years, a little over 10 years ago, but lately, the last several years, maybe there's been one or two things, but it's kind of mainly been a lot of other disability things, which is totally fine. Um, but I don't anticipate a lot of information. I don't anticipate a lot of really new stuff announced at ATIA. Now, I could be wrong. We'll see. But then, of course, we have CSUN in March ish. I don't know if that's happening, if it's happening virtually, with all the spikes in COVID and everything else happening right now. Um, again, a lot of places, some places are going like ATIA is still plugging ahead in person, I guess, which is kind of interesting. E3 is digital, other stuff, we'll just have to see what happens. But we're still in the pandemic, whether people like it or not. Unfortunately, yeah, there's still, like I said, there's an upsurge in cases and hospitalizations and all these mutations. I mean, yeah, it is getting old, but what are you going to do? Um, so, one thing that I did want to talk a little bit about is just a little bit, give especially new viewers a little bit more background on kind of the channel and the way I've been covering things, and hopefully clarify a couple things that maybe weren't clear. So I got a comment in one of the recent videos, my recent VR video, about it's like, well, how can you missed one thing. How can this be played by a blind person? And unfortunately, the answer, I left a comment as well, but VR, unfortunately, ever since I started covering it in 2015, 2016, I've never claimed to be totally blind. I know there are some other channels, some other viewer, or some other people online that say I am the blind person, I am the blind guru, the blind gamer, the blind tech nerd, whatever it happens to be. Like, yes, I am blind. And that is one way to look at it. I'm not holding that against them because blindness is a spectrum. However, I do want to try and avoid confusion. I've never claimed to be totally blind. Illegally sighted is just a weird spoof on the legally blind term. Like, yes, I know what legally blind means, um, but I just always thought it like, oh yeah, I'm legally blind. That's just a weird phrase. So, that means that I have, less than a certain amount of vision or less, a limited field of view to qualify as legally blind. So I said, okay, well, if I'm legally blind, then I must be illegally sighted, and that's where the whole, even before my channel, I would sort of use that with friends and stuff, and they'd say, "What's your vision condition?" I'd be like, "Well, I'm illegally sighted," and it was fun just to get a weird look from people, like, "Wait, what?" Because it would usually take them a second, and either they would get it or they'd be like, "Huh?" And it was just amusing to me because, again, you tell someone that you're visually impaired, and the first thing they say, "What is your vision? What is," like, I don't mind answering some of that stuff, but I also like to kind of be a little off kilter, a little bit unexpected in that way. So that's where that came from. But yes, I am legally blind. I do have some usable vision. Small print is very hard for me. Things that blend in to other things, like foreground items that blend into the background, or really busy pattern backgrounds or something, those things are troublesome for me. And I do, even though I use my vision, I still do a lot of things as a totally blind person would. So some tasks I will do visually. I do still use screen readers on my computer. I use JAWS, I use NVDA, I use VoiceOver on iOS for a lot of what I do. It's mainly for like games and other visual things where I do use some of my vision. Um, so yeah, no, I've never claimed to be totally blind. I am legally blind, illegally sighted, whatever you want to call it. But um, and again, with the playlists up there, I do try to. I have a low vision spotlight series, which is more for games that you can maybe play if you have some usable vision. But again, I point out areas even where I have trouble. Maybe there's games that work really well. I've covered games that haven't worked well, and I say I really, really wanted to like this game, but due to some of its visuals, I can't recommend it because it's really tough even for me to play. But now that you've seen some gameplay footage, you can be the judge for yourself and see if it's something that you think you might be able to visually play or not. Accessible game spotlight videos, PC or iOS accessible game spotlight videos, are just that. I try to refer to them as games that, whether you have some vision, no vision, you can play them. They might be voiceover accessible games. They might be games that use a PC screen reader like NVDA or something, maybe like Skullgirls. They might be a self voicing game. They could be an audio game. They could be a text adventure or a word game, anything like that. But those are games that totally blind people can play. So those are accessible game spotlight videos. As for VR, that's where, admittedly, I am very frustrated myself. I feel your pain. How are blind people going to be able to play this game? How are blind people going to use a VR headset? And the unfortunate answer at this time is, for the most part, they're not. Um, when I got into virtual reality, when I bought my Oculus Rift in 2016 is when it came out, I think. 2015, 2016. I can't even remember these days. When I got it, like, I had seen a prototype of the Rift, and the couple experiences that I saw blew me away. It was really amazing. And at the same time, I looked at it and I said, okay, I already see some usability issues here, but the coolness right now and sort of my enthusiasm really outweighs some of the drawbacks because A, I wanted to experience it for myself, and B, at the time, virtual reality was very expensive to get into, And I really didn't see many, if any, other blind and low vision users being able to afford and get into virtual reality, if nothing else, just to as a user, but especially for advocacy and for consulting, those types of things, because that's also what I want to try to do on this channel. If a game developer watches one of my videos where I cover their game, or I cover another game that's similar to their game that I want to play, I'll try to point out things that work well, things that I have trouble with, things that I think other users might have trouble with. And virtual reality, like I said, when it works really well for low vision. But when it doesn't, it is very annoying and can be very frustrating, very clunky. And my original hope in getting the Oculus Rift was to be able to start covering virtual reality on this channel and start getting the word out there, because again, virtual reality is this whole new medium, or it was when it was starting to come out, when the Vive and the Rift came out, and the PlayStation VR came out. And everyone was still trying to establish standards. They were still trying to figure out what worked, what didn't work. There was a lot of discussion around things like motion sickness, movement schemes, control schemes, user interface, all of these things that they were trying to figure out. It was kind of the Wild West. Everyone was trying to figure out what would be comfortable to people, what would be usable for people. But I knew, just the way that any other new technology works, the vast majority of people that are developing this stuff aren't even they're considering this just for the mainstream audience. They're fully able-bodied individuals. I have all working limbs. I have good hearing, good vision, whatever. That's who they're trying to design this stuff for, because they're the majority. So I said, okay, there's not going to be very many, if any, people really trying to champion, trying to advocate for blind and low vision. So that's partly, again, why I got into VR when I did. Yes, I really wanted to experience it for myself, but I thought, well, if you guys are trying to establish standards, um, let's try and convince you that accessibility, just like controls or graphics or sound or whatever, accessibility should be one of those core standards. And unfortunately, despite how hard I've been trying, at least as far as a end user product that you and I can buy, it really hasn't gone anywhere. I know people are considering it. I know people are working on it. Um, but that has very much been one of my frustrations. So I did it's on the VR accessibility playlist if you want to find it. I did a presentation for the Inclusive Design 24 conference in 2017 on virtual reality accessibility for blind and low vision users. I did that presentation in 2017. Um, and I've been sharing that presentation to pretty much anyone I talk to in VR development, whether it's developers, other advocates, game companies, just people interested in VR in general. Yeah, I've tried to share it. And then a couple years ago, 2020, God, I can't believe that. I can't believe 2020 is 2 years ago. Jeez. Um, I found out during a webinar, I found out about an organization that was just started about a year before then called XR Access, xraccess.org. And you can go to their website if you're interested in joining or finding out more about them. They're always looking for more people to help in the advocacy and testing, and just they have a few different groups that people can join and do a few things every month or couple months. Um, but I've been a part of that since like early to mid 2020, and I've been pretty active in there. I've been part of most of the user groups in that organization. I've helped them write up some things, try to write up some ideas for accessibility. Try to, again, champion for blind and low vision accessibility, express my frustrations, some of them the regular things that I have difficulties with in virtual reality. So I'm still working away at trying to make this happen. Like, I did a video, I forget when it came out, on this Seeing VR prototype that Microsoft had in development, which I later found out was an intern project. It was an internship project that just kind of was this prototype that was developed in the lab but never really made it past the lab stage. And there's been a few other projects like that, not just for blind accessibility, but for overall different types of accessibility in general. There's a lot of research being done and there's a lot of things happening in the labs, but so far, unfortunately, none of that has really resulted in something that an end user can do. I do stand corrected. There is one product called Walk-in VR, which I've seen a little bit. I have not actually gotten to try it yet. Um, but it's supposed to basically, like, for people who are playing in a small play area or have mobility impairments, it's a way to adapt some of the motion controls and room scale controls into something that more people can play. I don't want to speak to any more details than that right now, just because I don't really have super familiarity with it. But walk-in VR is really the one example that I can think of something that has left the research lab, and I believe you can even look for it on Steam. Walk-in VR. I'm pretty sure that's. I think it's a Steam VR app. I think. Um, so yeah. I mean, and the other thing with virtual reality is I have a few videos that I've already recorded, and that's where this recent one came from that I'm just releasing over time. But in the last year and a half or so, I've kind of been not so much into virtual reality. I haven't really done as much with it. Not because I don't want to, not because I don't like it, but again, we are now, let's say, about 5 years out from the launch of virtual reality. 2015, 2016. Even if you look at 2016, we're like 5 years out from it. And the fact that in that time, we've gone from flat screen, no console accessibility, to pretty dang good console dashboard accessibility. The Xbox One had narrator and the magnifier. The PS4, while not near as good, there were a lot of places text to speech didn't work. They were starting to try it. Nintendo, unfortunately, still is the least accessible. At least they added a zoom feature on the Switch, which I absolutely use every day when I use it. But now we have the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S consoles. They both have screen readers that work really well. They have magnifier, they have controller remapping, they have a lot of other accessibility features. Now, granted, PlayStation really needs to learn how to label alt text their images so that when I use their store or icons, they actually read, so the screen reader can actually read it. But that's a whole other issue. But the point is, at least in the last 5 years, we've gone from nothing pretty much. I'm trying to remember when Narrator came out for Xbox One. I'm pretty sure it was after 2015. So we've gone from nothing to pretty dang solid all things considered. And in the same time, VR, yes, okay, you can say it's a new industry, consoles have been around forever. Fine, but again, I still say that, hey, people are still iterating, they're still making standards, they're figuring things out. Everyone's still adding things, so if a console can add it, I don't see any reason that resources couldn't be devoted to the same thing on a VR platform. Because when I use my Oculus Rift, and I talk about this in some of my other videos, when I use my Rift, I do everything that I can via the PC app, the flat screen app. And then when I launch the app on the screen, and then I put my headset on to play. And then when I'm when I'm in the game or the VR app, I hope to God that I can at least muddle my way through the VR interface to get into the game, or adjust settings. And a lot of times I do have trouble. There are things where I just don't adjust settings because I physically can't. So I just make do with what I can. The Oculus Quest. Very similar deal, but worse. When the Quest came out, this is a standalone headset. It was meant to be used on its own. You don't have to pair it with a computer. You pair it with your smartphone. And again, when the Quest came out, the Oculus app for iOS was not half bad. It actually worked reasonably well with VoiceOver. There were some unlabeled things, but I could get around it pretty well. And again, under the VR accessibility playlist, I've covered this iOS app twice. The earlier version showing where it was mostly accessible but needed a little bit of work. And then Oculus really broke it. I don't even know how many, I've lost track of how many months. It's probably been a year now. So, I would used to try to do everything just like on the computer. I would try to do everything on the Oculus Quest on my phone, and then when I get into the game, I would put the headset on. Well, now I can't even browse the app with VoiceOver on my phone because it is just completely, in most areas, is completely accessibility broken, which sucks. So I haven't really I don't think I've used my Quest in the last 9-10 months. When I upgraded my desktop PC in late October, I got it on Halloween. I have not hooked up my Oculus Rift. I put my Rift back in the box. And if I do use VR on my PC, I'm likely to just hook up my Quest because it has far fewer cables. I don't have to worry about the little infrared sensors. I don't have to worry about 6 USB ports needed for, however many USB ports needed for this thing to work. But again, I've kind of just been so discouraged with the lack of consumer-facing VR accessibility that I haven't, there's been games that have come out. Resident Evil 4 VR. I'm sure that looks really cool. But at the same time, I already know the interface in that, like your inventory and puzzles and things like that, are going to be barriers. They're going to be things that I'm going to have trouble seeing. So I'd love to check it out. I still haven't even checked out Half-Life Alyx yet. Because my old computer was on the verge where it could barely run it, I don't think. And I could easily run it on my new computer, but like I said, I just don't really want to even install the VR stuff until somebody in the VR industry wakes up and says, oh, yeah, maybe let's make our in-headset dashboards actually work with a screen reader or magnification or something. Because that's the thing. The reason that I would use my computer or my phone for my Rift or Quest respectively is because the dashboard interfaces in the headset, I can see that things are there, but it's visually too far away and too small a print for me to be able to read. There's a lot of guessing. That's really the only way that I'm able to navigate the dashboard is guessing and memorization. Maybe watching some other video of somebody else doing the VR interface, and then I can kind of go, oh, that's where that option is, and then I just memorize. But then, God forbid, if something changes, well, then I'm screwed again. So, as much as I have been really pushing and working with as many people as I can to help improve VR accessibility, I feel your pain. And I get your comment. Um, how is a VR accessible headset accessible to someone who's totally blind? How are these games accessible for somebody who's totally blind? The sad answer is they mostly aren't. I tried to figure out something that my ex could do when she was up here so that she could try to experience VR. I was thinking even something like Fruit Ninja. But everything is so spatial that you have to like swipe certain areas, and it's tricky, it's difficult. Um, so no, when I cover VR content, it is through the low vision perspective, and you can go look at pretty much any game that I cover. One of the first things that I will often gripe about is the fact that I really had to do some guesswork to figure out how to play the game, and even though I have, there are still things that I am unable to do. There might be a tutorial box, there might be a skill tree, there might be like maybe you get so far in a game and then you get choices of like an upgrade that you can choose going forward. And I can't read any of them, so I just have to either guess or sort of memorize what the things are. Um, there's all these weird hacks, and again, I would do that for a while because I really wanted to experience virtual reality. So I would do that. I would maybe record a video clip and then take my headset off, look at the video and go, okay, this option, I could turn magnifier on then watching the video, and I could say, okay, the first option is this, the second option is this, the one in the middle is that. And I would memorize, and then I knew when I got the headset back on what to point at or what to activate. Problem is, I got tired of doing that. I really got tired of doing that. So like, just to be able to adjust basic settings or even start to play a game, if I got to jump through all these hoops, I can only do that for so long before I just go, you know what? Screw it. It's not worth it. Um, and that's why I've kind of hung up my VR headsets for a little while. Now that Facebook is now Meta and God only knows what they're going to do, they're going through this whole different approach. Who knows? Like, Apple, I don't know if this year, next year, if Apple is going to do their mixed reality headset, and if anything, they might be the one to look to that will have some sort of blind accessibility because, their phone, their computers, their watches, their tablets, everything nowadays that they release at least generally has some blind accessibility to it. So that's maybe the only prayer uh, that we really have right now. Because, like I said, I know that people are working on things. I know there's lab things. People are making prototypes. They're trying to get developers into it. But, we really need one consumer product. We need one headset to make their dashboard accessible. We need one really killer VR game to include blind or low vision accessibility. And that's what happens. You get this major tipping point. Look at what Microsoft did. They released Narrator on their Xbox. Oh, well, then Sony said, oh, well, maybe we can try some of that. Took them a couple iterations to figure it out, but they've gotten a lot better. Um, Nintendo is just Nintendo. They do whatever they want to do, and it's frustrating as well. But, You know, we have things. There's been indie games that have added accessibility. There've been a lot of indie games that have tried to champion accessibility, at least in some way. And then we had The Last of Us 2 in 2020 that proved not only can we have a triple A game, but we can have a like epically big triple A game um, that in some areas is even partially sort of open world. And not only can blind people play it, but people are playing it and beating it on the hardest difficulty setting. I have not done that yet, but people are doing it, and that's great. And so it's made the industry take notice. So we've got a lot of Ubisoft games now that are not blind accessible. They're starting to add text to speech. They really got to work on that in-world navigation stuff. But within a couple, I'm hoping within a couple iterations, maybe some of these games will be more blind accessible. So we just need this. We need one VR game. We need one or two VR. Give me an indie title, and then give me a big old major VR release that adds some blind accessibility. Even if it's not perfect, the fact that they would at least attempt it, that could get the rest of the industry looking. And then likewise for like the interface, the dashboards. It's just going to take one company to finally do it, and then people will go, "Oh, I guess we got to catch up too." Um, so yeah, I don't know. That is the state of things right now. I myself am very frustrated. Yes, I still have a few VR videos that I will be able to release, but I haven't recorded any VR content in quite a while. So we're just kind of coasting on the few videos that I have for now until there is some progress with a new headset, with some games, but I have not played or bought any VR content in quite a while myself. Just because I'm tired of going through so many hoops. I'm tired of just paying for things that, yeah, I can afford it, but like I'm tired of trying to buy even a game for $10 that I realize that I have trouble playing. So I've kind of stopped. So I hope that answers people's questions. I hope that especially answers the commenter's question for that VR video. Trust me, I get it. I'm just as frustrated because the thing is, I see the potential that is there. And VR it doesn't have to be just for gaming. You have apps like Virtual Desktop that are really cool. I've used Virtual Desktop before. It's a bitch to record because I have issues. I've tried to record videos for it, but I just haven't gotten it to work correctly. Where you can basically bring your desktop into VR and you can use your screen reader, you can use magnifier, and you're basically having one screen, multiple screens. You can have a ginormous screen, you can have a curved screen. However you want, you can do all this stuff within your headset. And so you could be like floating through space or in whatever environment you want to be in and just have these giant windows all around you and for low vision, or you can have your audio and you're just using your headset instead of your monitor. It's a neat thing. There schools maybe as VR gets cheaper, you got things like the Oculus Quest and some of the lower end VR. Honestly, some of my favorite content for virtual reality has been educational. Like the games are cool, but like the Titanic VR, Apollo 11, Mission ISS, for the International Space Station. Like I said, I did one on the Anne Frank house. I did one on. There's other ones that I haven't been able to do because I've tried. There's been some science one. There's been some like biology ones where you can like literally like look at you can put the different layers of like, oh, here's the bone, here's the muscle structure, here's your skeleton, here's your body. Like it has really, really cool potential for learning all kinds of things. Um, but again, we need to get somewhere as far as accessibility, that's why I'm fighting for it. Because yeah, games are cool, but should VR eventually take off, and should schools, let's say, start to use this more often, if this becomes more of a standard, just how computers and tablets are pretty ubiquitous now. Um, if schools and stuff, if a lot more places start using virtual reality, then again we're going to be left behind, and it's going to be something else we can't do. We're just going to have to sit on the side and listen while everyone else enjoys it, which is a bunch of crap. So, yeah, and even in the mainstream, VR has kind of slowed down a little bit. Like, there was a huge enthusiasm, I would say, for about 3 years or so, from like about 2016 to 2018, 2019. VR is a big thing. And now, like, there's still stuff coming out, but there really hasn't been like too many really like mind blowing announcements or experiences. Yes, PlayStation did earlier this month just announce their PlayStation VR 2 that is going to be coming at some point. Again, which might be good. I don't know if they're going to add any accessibility to it, since, the PS5 has a screen reader built in. Is any of the VR interface going to support the screen reader? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm not going to rush out and buy any more VR crap again until we start seeing some accessibility. As much as it pains me, like if there was some killer game that I really, really wanted to play, I'm just going to have to suck it up and watch somebody else's video, because I'm done. I have 2 VR headsets already, because I wanted a computer headset and I wanted a standalone headset so I could try to advocate for both. But until we see some progression, um, I'm kind of putting a hiatus on the whole VR thing for a while. So I will release the videos I have for virtual reality, but after that, I will let you guys know, and I don't know when I will start covering VR again, because that's just the way it's going to be for now. So yeah, there's my kind of long-winded rant on the current state of VR. Like, there are promising things happening. I know people in XR Access, I give them a lot of credit, because we are working on a lot of things. We're trying to make more stuff happen. And I had some great conversations with people. I actually did. There was some VR meeting where I did talk to one of the people behind the Seeing VR thing, and I said, hey, this really needs to be a thing beyond the lab, because this would solve so many problems that I currently have with VR. And she seemed pretty into it, so I don't know if that's going to result in anything, if somebody will get like an SDK for it or whatever, but it was a fun conversation, and I hope something came from it. Anyway, that is my kind of spiel on virtual reality, accessibility, a channel update. Like I said, there's a lot of things coming. There's a lot of games coming out. We have the systems. I've got a new computer, so we're pretty good there. We can just continue forward. So lots to look forward to on the channel. I guess the only other thing that I will say is, like I said, VR was the hot topic item for a few years, and now it's these blasted NFTs. I hate that word. I've grown to hate it. Um, I, I mean, on a base level, I get what it is or what they're trying to do, but there just doesn't. I don't see anything that's going to benefit an end user, whether you're a gamer, a tech enthusiast, an average Joe. The only thing that these NFTs are benefiting are the people that buy into it and that are trying to pyramid scheme and get everybody else into it so they can make their share of money. They talk about, oh, well, but if you get this jacket in one game and then you can use it in another game and you'll own it and blah, blah, blah. You don't need the blockchain to do that. You can do that already if you really wanted to. Like, let's say, okay, let's say that a bunch of Ubisoft games took place in one universe, and you could buy something in Assassin's Creed and then use it in Watch Dogs or vice versa. You can already do that. If both games, let's say, are developed in Unreal Engine or Unity, you could just say, hey, this item, it's compatible, and then it'll work in this or that or the other thing. You don't need the blockchain. You can do that already. Um, you know, Having something and selling it. If they would just do it, if the platform holders would just do it for games, you can already do that in like Steam. We don't have the blockchain. We can go to the community thing and we can buy and sell trading cards. We can buy and sell little avatar thingies that we earn through badges. Like you earn a badge and you get a wallpaper, you get an emote, you get whatever. And you can already do that. You just gotta, like, they already know, like, how many games you own. They already know, um, like, it tells you in my profile, or it tells me in my profile, I own this many games. I own this much DLC. I own whatever. I've played this game for this many hours. Um, so just to be able to open that up and identify a standard to say, oh, okay, well, you'd have to figure out how much is it regulated by the platform, or can the end users negotiate a price, like a trade value? Like, okay, I don't want this game anymore. I will trade you for this game, or I will pay you $20 or $10 to sell you this game that I don't want anymore. Like you could do that. You don't need NFTs for this crap. You don't. Like the stuff is already there. Like I said, it's just some weird. I just don't see any value in it. I really don't. And I'm really tired of hearing about it. Like people are just buying into it because it's the cool thing. I mean, I could be looking at this 5 years from now saying I was totally wrong. And maybe I will. But right now, I just don't feel it. I don't see it. I don't NFTs. I'm tired of it. Um, until someone shows me something that's not just for making money and monetizing things, until somebody can show me some actual, like, average Joe end user benefit that's going to happen, whether it's in a game, whether it's through art, whether it's through, I don't know. Because, like I said, you can own, like, oh, okay, you can own a picture of a monkey. Okay, fine, whatever. But it's digital. I can go to a website. I could literally click on any of these images or whatever, and I could download that video. I could right click and save that image. Okay, it's not the original file, but I can download that. Like, somebody else created this Cobra Kai wallpaper that I got. It's not mine, but I liked it. I found it on the web, and I said, I want that as my wallpaper. So, I don't know. Just, yeah, the NFT thing, I'm over it. Until you can show me something really compelling that's not just about monetization and screwing people over and doing a pyramid scheme, I don't care. I mean, I'm really kind of starting to just get annoyed with the whole monetization of gaming in general. Um, yes, I'm glad that people can support their games after launch. I'm glad that people can add DLC and more levels and more content for people that are really into games. That's wonderful. But it's gotten to the point where it's all like I'm convinced that people are looking at, okay, what type of monetization scheme do we want to do? Do we want to do loot boxes? Do we want to do season passes? Do we want to do micro-transactions? Do we want to do all of the above? Okay, what franchise can we exploit for that? Okay, now that we figured that out, what kind of game should we make around it? Like, the games are almost becoming secondary. It's becoming about monetization and extracting the most amount of money that you can out of your users. Like, I play games because I like to play games. I play games because I enjoy them. But with all these paywalls and microtransactions and this used to be a Facebook thing or a mobile thing, and now it's just infested itself everywhere. I remember when people, like the first thing, you had that horse armor for Oblivion, and people were uptight about that. Like even I was like, well, I don't want to pay however $5-10 for horse armor. But now regular like DLC is just a regular thing. Like we've come to terms with that. It's sure adding more content, but then like it's just gotten so. There's been so many ways um, to get money out of you after you buy the game, and that probably wouldn't bother me as much if games themselves. I understand like there's a lot of stuff that goes into developing a game, and it's hard, and you're not going to catch every bug. I totally get that. But games are released now that are so broken that there's always a day one patch. Like, I can't hardly think of a game that doesn't have a day one patch these days, and usually they're fairly big patches. So, if I were to buy a physical disc, if I were to buy a game on physical media, that's why I stopped. Because let's say that I want to play one of my favorite games 10 years, 15 years down the road, and I bought the disc, well, I can't. And if the servers are no longer online, or if I can't download the latest update, maybe my console broke and I got a new Xbox 360 or something, and they don't have the patches online anymore. Well, now I've got a kind of broken game because all the patches that were available via Xbox Live or what have you are gone. So I'm essentially buying an unfinished game on a physical disc. So you really need, the day one patch, the 1 month patch. You need whatever the latest version is. So I pretty much have gone exclusively digital for that reason. I know this is kind of being a ranty episode, and I do apologize for that. Because there are a lot of things happening. There are a lot of great things happening. We're seeing more diversity in games. We're seeing a lot more accessibility features in games. Yeah, we haven't seen as much blind accessibility, but developers are even just starting to even consider a variety of accessibility. I've seen just countless number of games lately that have at least have an accessibility menu or have tweeted about it or have actively been trying to add features to their games. So as much as I'm complaining about NFTs and lack of VR accessibility, there are positive things happening. And we have mods. We have Hearthstone access. We have Stardew access. We have Toby accessibility mod. If the developers themselves aren't going to do it, we have excellent people in the gaming community that are going on there that are using their own time to mod a game to make it playable. And these are like all very different games. Minecraft, there's mods for that. So you get like Minecraft. We have a farming simulator in Stardew Valley. We have Doom, the original run and gun Doom. We have a card battler game in Hearthstone. So we're getting good variety. It's not just fighting games. It's not just text adventures. It's not just word games. There are positive things happening, and that's where we're going to end the video. I want to end on a positive note. So I am going to try to cover Stardew Access as well. I have it installed. I just haven't gotten around to really playing it. I've been distracted by many other things. We've got God of War. We've got Stardew Access. We've got the Anacrusis. We've got just so many other things, past, present, games that are coming out. There's a couple games in February that I'm really looking forward to. Sifu, really want to check that game out. So there'll be plenty of content coming. Anyway, hope that answers people's questions. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. For everyone who is new, thank you for stopping by. For everyone who has been supporting the channel for a long time, thank you very much. It is much appreciated. Appreciate people coming into the chat in the Twitch streams lately. It's been fun. Thank you for that as well. You can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, Twitter at BGFH79, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. So until next time, I will chat with everyone again later.